It's a quiet night at the local izakaya as things start to wind down. Zhun flashes a polite smile, wishing the last few customers a pleasant evening as they head out. He gets right to work cleaning, spraying down the tables to finish up his shift. Today is a big milestone. It's his 18th birthday, which means he's finally old enough to enter the novice dungeon and become a class holder. A heavy hand drops onto his shoulder, pulling him out of his thoughts. His boss tells him to clock out early and head over to pick up his sister since it's a slow night. Zhun takes the extra cash with a grateful grin, thanking the man for the early release. He steps out into the cool night air, ready to start the most important night of his life. Looking up, he catches a glimpse of the moon hanging over the city. High above the clouds sits the sanctuary of divine revelation, the center of this new world order. It's hard to believe 10 years have already passed since everything changed. That was when the game descended on Earth, bringing with it both angels and demons. Anyone who managed to clear the first dungeon gained incredible powers and became a class holder. But that power quickly led to chaos as class holders used their new abilities for violence and greed. Order was eventually restored when the 8 Supremes established the sanctuary to govern the world. Now, those same class holders who caused the chaos have elevated themselves into the ruling elite. They live in the most luxurious estates, looking down on the rest of society. They command absolute respect from the masses, while people like Zhun struggle just to survive. His parents weren't lucky enough to make it through those early years of turmoil. He pushes off on his bike, heading toward the shop where his sister works. He knows that clearing the dungeon is the only path left to a good life. He pulls up to the store and calls out for Yuzi with a big smile. She drops what she's doing immediately and rushes toward the door. She's been waiting all day for him to come pick her up. Yuzi nearly tackles him with a hug, thrilled that he's actually there to take her home. Her boss watches from the counter, teasing them about how close they are as siblings. Yuzi dashes off to the back to change out of her uniform as quickly as she can. The store owner turns to Zhun, asking if it's true that today is his 18th birthday. She slides a beautifully wrapped white box across the counter, presenting it as a gift. Zhun tries to decline out of politeness, but his sister shouts her objection from the back of the shop. The lady laughs, mentioning that sales have gone up significantly since his sister started working there. She insists he take it, telling him to just enjoy the celebration. They head out together on the bike, with the store owner waving them goodbye. Zhun focuses on the road, his resolve hardening for what lies ahead. He's determined to make it through the trial and become a class holder. They arrive at their building and start to climb up the stairs. He reaches for the light switch as they step into their apartment. The place is small and run down, but it's their own private sanctuary. They sit down at the tiny table with their prize. For a moment, a comfortable silence settles over the room. Zhun carefully lifts the lid, curious to see what kind of cake they received. He grabs a knife and starts slicing into the cake, enjoying one last quiet moment with his sister. Yuzi looks up in surprise as her brother offers her a slice of the birthday cake. Zhun tells her to eat up, wanting her to enjoy the treat with him. She looks down at the plate, but she can't even focus on the food right now. Tears start to spill over as she asks if he's really planning to challenge the dungeon tonight. He smiles and tells her not to be silly. He's doing this so she won't have to live in a rat hole like this forever. Trying to lighten the mood, he asks what kind of gift she prepared for her big brother. Yuzi wipes her eyes and pulls something out from behind her chair. She reveals a handmade manual filled with every scrap of info she could gather about the novice dungeon. She hands it over, begging him to make sure he comes back alive. A few minutes later, the plate is empty, their final meal together before the hunt is complete. Zhun makes sure she's tucked in and asleep before he gets ready to head out. With a quiet remark about his silly girl of a sister, he shuts the door and steps out into the night. He stands at the edge of the city, looking out at the floating fortress that holds his future. Inside the dungeon hub, the air is heavy with the weight of thousands of desperate souls. He stands before the swirling blue portal of the novice dungeon, ready to take the plunge. The receptionist gives him one final reminder. The mortality rate for this dungeon is a staggering 70%. Zhun doesn't flinch, holding on to his sister's manual as his only guide. He's made his choice, and there's no turning back now. He steps into the shimmering energy, leaving the ordinary world behind. He finds himself suspended in a void between two massive gatekeepers, an angel and a demon. Floating screens appear before him, offering various classes for his journey. He doesn't hesitate. He picks the path of the assassin. His old clothes are torn away as the system begins his transformation. In a flash of light, he's outfitted in dark blue leather armor, built for speed and silence. He draws a sharp dagger, testing the weight of his new weapons. The system calls them Reapers of Life, the unsung heralds of doom who move through the shadows. A message appears, telling him his next task is to survive a special talent trial for as long as possible. He recognizes this part. It's the trial his sister's notes mention that will decide his destiny. Suddenly, a magical sword rains down from the sky, slicing through his shoulder. Blood splashes and the pain is intense, but he notices his health bar isn't moving at all. He grits his teeth, realizing that this isn't a physical battle, it's a test of pure willpower. More swords slam into the ground around him, creating a lethal forest of steel. He stares at a sword as it whistles past his ear, wondering if he can actually dodge them. Dodging the blades consumes his stamina, but letting them hit him slowly grinds down his resolve. The sky fills with hundreds of shimmering blades, all aimed directly at him. He throws himself into a roll, moving with a speed he never knew he possessed. A blade grazes his cheek as he hits the ground, the spiritual pressure becoming almost unbearable. He realizes that the only way to fail is to lose consciousness, so he refuses to close his eyes. He springs back up, his eyes sharp and focused on the next wave of falling steel. He looks up at the digital sky, refusing to let the game break him. Another sword screams toward him, but he's already moving before it even gets close. He reaches out and grabs a hilt, pushing his willpower to the absolute limit as the trial reaches its peak. Zhun's hand snaps around the hilt of a falling blade, his grip like iron. He leaps into the air, dancing through the lethal storm of steel with a new level of agility. He lets out a defiant roar, his daggers clashing against the magical swords in a blur of motion. With a powerful spin, he parries multiple strikes at once, the shockwaves of his movements clearing the air around him. He stands tall amidst the carnage, his breath coming in heavy, ragged gasps as he stares down the trial. He knows that his resolve to grow stronger isn't something that can be easily broken. "Bring it on," he shouts, challenging the system to do its worst. The sky responds with an even more intense barrage, a final test of his endurance and spirit. He stands his ground, eyes wide as the world around him begins to dissolve into white light. The trial is finally over, leaving him standing in the center of a digital cityscape. Sweat drips down his face as the adrenaline finally begins to ebb away. He collapses onto his back, exhausted but triumphant. He won. A system message appears. He has perfectly cleared the trial and earned the SSS grade talent, honorable. He punches the air with a grin, promising his sister a future that she truly deserves. The angel gatekeeper announces that the gates of God's revelation are now open to him. The massive golden doors swing wide, inviting him into the true heart of the novice dungeon. The angel gatekeeper and demon gatekeeper stand at the threshold, watching as the new challenger enters. Zhun sat up, ready to face whatever awaited him in this strange new world. He walks through the doors, stepping onto a path of floating platforms suspended in the dark. He considers the 5 available classes, weighing the pros and cons of each one. He knows he doesn't have the physique of a warrior, the wealth of a mage, or the connections of a priest. But he has his agility and his dagger, which point toward only one path. He chooses the assassin class, fully embracing the role of the lone wolf. He smirks, knowing that in the early stages of the game, an assassin is arguably the strongest class there is. He examines his first active skill, Stealth, LV.1, which allows him to vanish from sight. The skill window explains that the longer he stays hidden, the more his attack power will build up. He activates the skill, his hand beginning to shimmer as he tests the effects of invisibility. With this kind of survivability and burst damage, he's confident that no one can stop him. He steps through a shimmering portal, leaving the transition area for the dungeon proper. He arrives in the City of Embers Plaza district, a beautiful and peaceful safe zone. He plans to head out and hunt some monsters to level up and get a better handle on his new talent. But a sudden, angry shout from across the plaza catches his attention. He sees a group of thugs surrounding a young warrior and his sister, demanding they hand the girl over. Leading the group is the red-haired thug leader, a massive man with an X-shaped scar on his cheek. The young warrior tries to protect his sister, but he's already taken a beating from the bullies. Zhun watches from behind a pillar, his eyes narrowing as he takes in the situation. He can see that these thugs are nothing more than cowards who prey on those they think are weaker. To him, they're nothing but disgusting parasites that have no place in this world. The red-haired thug leader grabs the young warrior by the collar, enraged that the boy fought back. He threatens to kill the boy right then and there if he doesn't start showing some respect. Zhun knows he has to act fast if he wants to save the siblings from a terrible fate. He activates his stealth and rushes forward, closing the distance without a sound. Zhun maneuvers through the shadows, planning a hit and run to draw the thugs away so the two strangers can escape. He tightens his grip on his dagger, his focus narrowing onto the red-haired thug leader. He strikes with lightning speed, but a blue system message flashes. He's in a safe zone and cannot inflict damage on other players. The red-haired thug leader staggers back, eyes wide as he looks for his invisible assailant. Zhun's eyes widen in disbelief. He hadn't realized that the dungeon had enforced safe zones. The gang of thugs erupts in fury, shouting for their leader to catch the bastard who dared to attack them. Zhun remains calm. He just needs to break their line of sight for 5 seconds to re-enter stealth. With a nimble leap, he vaults over the head of one of the massive thugs, leaving them in the dust. The thugs chase him through the streets, but Yu Zhun is already planning his next move to shake them off for good. The two siblings watch the pursuit from a distance, safely away from the immediate danger. The red-haired thug leader is livid, vowing to make the little animal regret the day he was ever born. Yu Zhun leans against a wall in a quiet alley, taking a moment to catch his breath after losing his pursuers. He summons his inventory window, appreciating the convenience of the system's storage space. He pulls out a large, ornate book, the notes left behind by someone named Yu Zhu. He sits down to study the guide, finally understanding how the safe zones function within the dungeon's rules. The guide maps out various leveling areas, showing him exactly where he needs to go next. A confident smile crosses his face as he identifies his next destination, the Demon Sheep Wilderness. He sets off toward the east, passing through the city gates with a new sense of purpose. He arrives at the vast, green plains of the Demon Sheep Wilderness, where magical beasts roam free. Crouched behind a large rock, he observes the level 1 lesser demon sheep, noting their passive nature. He calculates his stats, realizing that his attack power is nearly enough to kill one in a single strike. By staying in stealth for 2 minutes, he can build up enough power to one-shot the beasts effortlessly. He creeps up on an unsuspecting sheep, his blade shimmering with the accumulated power of his stealth. He strikes with a decisive blow, instantly killing the beast and earning his first experience points in the dungeon. Yu Zhun lunges forward, trying to end this fight as quickly as possible. He lands a solid hit for 150 damage, but it's not enough to take the monster down. These lesser demon sheep aren't just going to stand there and take it. The thing counterattacks immediately, taking a chunk out of his health. He realizes assassins aren't meant for prolonged face-to-face brawls. He finishes it off with another strike, but it was far from a clean kill. At this rate, leveling up is going to take forever. He checks his SSS-Rank talent, fair and square, which promises a guaranteed one-hit kill. The description says he just has to carry out the assassination, fair and square. Since he just tried stealth and it didn't trigger, he figures that's not what the game considers fair. If sneaking doesn't work, maybe just attacking from behind doesn't count either. He needs to figure out the exact rules of this power, and fast. Another hit lands for critical damage, but the talent is still dormant. He loots a basic health potion from the kill. He knows SSS rank talents are strong, but the trigger conditions are way too vague. He stares at the next sheep, thinking about what fair and square actually means. He tries something weird and just tells the sheep he's going to kill it. The sheep just stares at him with grass in its mouth. He slashes it for 120 damage, but still nothing happens. Another loot drop, but he's no closer to solving the mystery. He downs the health potion to recover some HP. He wonders if he simply isn't being honest enough with his targets. He decides to double down and give the thing a full self-introduction. He walks right up to it and formally announces his name and his intent to kill it. He feels like a total idiot shouting his name at a sheep in the middle of a field. The sheep just blinks, completely confused. Suddenly, a massive burst of damage deletes the sheep instantly. It actually worked. Who would have thought being polite was the key? So the condition for his SSS rank talent is a formal introduction and a declaration of intent. He looks out at the dozens of sheep nearby, thinking about the efficiency. He wonders if he can target multiple enemies at once with a single shout. He checks to make sure there are no other players around to witness this embarrassment. He takes a deep breath and gets ready to level up. Yu Zhun screams his name and his plan to kill every single sheep in the area. Every sheep in the field stops and looks up at him at once. He charges in, knowing he's about to trigger a massacre. One by one, the sheep start exploding as he counts them off. 4, 5, 14. The talent is clearing them out like a lawnmower. He hits level 2 in record time as the experience pours in. Loot and potions fly everywhere as he reaches 50 kills in seconds. Another level up notification pops. He's already at level 3. It turns out his talent can lock onto at least 50 targets simultaneously as long as they hear the declaration. Yu Zhun looks up, sensing a change in the environment. He recalls his sister mentioning a rare event that triggers in this wilderness. A massive, glowing ritual circle featuring ram horns appears in the sky. This is it. The portal cracks with energy as something powerful prepares to emerge. A massive rift tears open as a level 5 elite, the black demon sheep, lunges onto the scene. With 1000 HP and heavy-hitting skills like charge and trample, this thing is a huge step up from the small fry. Yu Zhun pulls out the guide his sister, Yu Zi, made for him. She even left a little motivational note at the bottom to cheer him on. Yu Zhun doesn't look scared. He sees this as the perfect test for his SSS rank talent. He doesn't waste any time, introducing himself formally to the massive beast. A few minutes earlier, someone was already watching him from the shadows. Yu Zhun had been tearing through the normal sheep with ease, which caught some unwanted attention. The bald thug stalking him assumes Yu Zhun must have some top-tier gear to kill like that. He thinks Yu Zhun is being arrogant by facing an elite monster alone and expects him to die. The thug's plan is simple: wait for the monster to do the dirty work, then loot the corpse. Back in the fight, the system confirms that all conditions for fair and square have been met. Zhun just needs to land a single effective blow to end the elite once and for all. The elite isn't going to make it easy, charging forward with a dark, unblockable energy. The demon sheep charge hits with a 200% speed boost, making it nearly impossible to track. Zhun barely rolls out of the way, knowing that as an assassin, his health pool is dangerously shallow. He hits the grass hard, realizing that even at level 3, a single direct hit will be fatal. The monster stays on top of him, giving him no room to breathe or counterattack. Dodging is one thing, but trying to strike back with a short dagger in this chaos is another story. Suddenly, the elite monster releases a massive, wide-range attack that covers the whole area. Zhun has to scramble just to stay outside the blast zone. He's lucky to have escaped that one, but the beast is already preparing its next move. The black demon sheep leaps high into the air, casting a massive shadow over him. It's the demon sheep trample, a devastating AoE attack with a massive radius. The impact slams Zhun into the ground, sending him tumbling through the grass. Just being caught in the shockwave nearly killed him, leaving him with only 30 HP. He quickly pulls out a health potion before the monster can finish him off. The green light of the potion washes over him, bringing his health back up to full. He looks at the elite through the smoke, knowing his SSS-Rank talent is his only edge. He knows that if the world finds out about his power, people will try to use him as a pawn. His only choice is to become so strong that no one can ever dream of challenging him. The monster roars in pain as Zhun finally lands a hit. To truly master his class, he realizes he needs to focus on two major areas. First, he has to make dodging an instinctual reaction so he never gets caught again. Second, he needs to find a way to boost his survivability so he isn't always one hit from death. He dodges the elite's massive hoof with inches to spare. With the final blow delivered, the monster dissolves, and he earns the title, Demon Sheep Nightmare. The title gives him a much-needed health boost and extra damage against sheep-type beasts. He's made up his mind about how he's going to play this game. From now on, he will prioritize staying alive above everything else. As long as he can survive to get close, his SSS-Rank talent will do the rest. Zhun examines his spoils, the cursed necklace of the black demon sheep. It has a peculiar trade-off, slashing his attack power to double his health. He laughs, seeing the curse as a massive blessing. His HP shoots up to 928, giving him the durability he so desperately needed. Suddenly, the world slows down as a sharp chill runs down his spine. His eyes widen in pure shock. A blade erupts through his chest from behind. Blood splatters everywhere as the sound of tearing flesh rings out. The bald thug emerges from the shadows, a sadistic grin on his face. He thanks the kid for doing all the hard work before dying. Zhun coughs up blood, his mind racing. He recognizes this man, one of the thugs from the city. He realized he'd been too focused on the monster. The thug leans in close, mockingly asking if Zhun has any final words he'd like passed on. Gasping for air, Zhun struggles to force the words past the blood pooling in his throat. He did not panic, but instead looked the thug straight in the eye and declared his name along with his absolute intent to kill him, in order to activate his fair and square skill. The bald thug bursts into hysterical laughter. To him, these are just the pathetic ramblings of a dying man. He explains that while numbers are just data, the pain and the physiological shock of a punctured heart are very much real. He twists the sword, relishing Zhun's cry of agony as more blood spills onto the grass. Zhun's expression shifts from pain to a terrifying, bloody smirk. He whispers the command to activate his one-hit kill. He plunged his dagger into the thug's thigh. Blue light erupted from the thug's body. The conditions had been met, and the system-forced death was absolute. The bald thug's eyes bulge in terror. He can't understand how he's dying when his health bar was barely touched. The thug shatters into digital particles, leaving Zhun standing alone with a sword still lodged in his shoulder. He exhales a shaky breath, realizing just how close he came to a permanent end. That was a costly mistake. He pulls the blade out and downs a health potion, watching as the green glow seals the horrific wound. He reflects on the cursed necklace. If he hadn't equipped it just moments before the ambush, that backstab would have killed him instantly. He looks at the fallen thug's weapon. This world is far more dangerous than just the monsters roaming the fields. He realizes the thug was likely working for the red-haired boss. Amidst the chaos, he also notices he's gained a new skill, sword dance. This universal skill will refine his combat instincts, turning his movements into something natural and fluid. Zhun opens his contact list, seeing it empty. He knows the thug's friends will notice his sudden death soon. The real hunt has only just begun. Zhun knows he can't stay in one spot for long, or he'll get mobbed by stragglers. His talent is basically a cheat code, instant death as long as he follows the rules of the introduction. To make the most of it, he needs bigger prey that offers more experience. He decides to move on and hunt elite monsters like demon sheep to speed up his leveling. Meanwhile, a map shows the exact location where someone met their end recently. The red-haired boss is already on the scene with his crew, looking for answers. He can't wrap his head around why his younger brother would even be out in this godforsaken place. The archer thug reports that the brother was hunting down the newcomer who had the nerve to attack the boss. The leader listens, his expression darkening as the pieces fall into place. It finally clicks, his brother died at the hands of that noob assassin. He goes full drill sergeant, ordering his guys and every other gang to find the kid immediately. He wants him dead, and he's not taking no for an answer. Back at the outskirts of the Ashfield ruins, the local monsters are restless. Packs of ash wolfhounds are prowling the ruins, looking for an easy meal. A group of adventurers is currently getting swamped by the beasts, barely holding them back with magic. Zhun watches the chaos from the safety of a nearby ruin. He figures it's as good a time as any to get back to his own grinding. He spots a lone wolfhound, a perfect subject to test the limits of his stats. He steps out and gives his mandatory intro, "My name is Zhun. I'm here to kill you." The wolfhound locks eyes with him, which is exactly the trigger his talent needs. His talent activates as the beast lunges through the air. It chomps down on his arm, but thanks to that cursed chain he's wearing, he's got enough HP to tank the hit. He takes the bite and prepares his counterattack. One wolf down. He estimates he can take on about a dozen of these things at once now. Suddenly, a sharp prick of killing intent hits him from behind. A whole pack of wolfhounds has materialized out of nowhere, surround him. And they've got reinforcements closing in from the front, too. He realizes that first wolf was just the bait to lure him into an ambush. But the wolves don't realize they're just giving him exactly what he wanted. He pulls out the sword dance skill book he looted from the dead assassin earlier. He activates the skill as the pack prepares to strike. The first beast goes for the throat, but Zhun is ready. He gives the whole pack a formal introduction to trigger his talent for all of them. He launches into the sword dance, his blade carving through the lead wolf in a blur. He's moving way too fast for the beasts to track his movements. He slides under a lunge and slashes another one right across the belly. His focus is absolute as he reads every predictable attack. Blood splatters across the ruins as he tears through their formation. He sidesteps another desperate lunge, his motions becoming more fluid with every kill. Another hit lands, and his talent ensures it's a killing blow. He jams his dagger right through the jaw of another wolf as it tries to bite him. He stands his ground as the rest of the pack closes in for the final round. Zhun weaves through the pack, his blades cutting down every wolf that dares to lunge at him. With a final, decisive flurry of strikes, the entire pack is wiped out in seconds. A notification pops up. He's already reached level 4 after taking out 13 wolfhounds while only getting hit once. He's impressed by how powerful his sword dance is, even at level 1, and notices a new skill book dropped from the pile of loot. He uses the book to learn a universal self-healing skill that regenerates his health every minute while out of combat. He equips the new skill, thinking about how many potions he'll save and eventually sell to help support his family. Satisfied with his progress, he moves on to find another pack of monsters to keep the momentum going. A massive explosion suddenly rocks the nearby area, catching him off guard. A level 10 demon hound leader charges out of the dust, looking like a local elite monster. He realizes the beast is already badly wounded and probably escaped from another group of hunters. He remembers hearing that stealing someone else's kill is a good way to make deadly enemies, so he activates his stealth. He just wants to become a powerful adventurer and give his sister a better life, not get dragged into unnecessary drama. But the beast doesn't care about his plans. It lunges right at his hiding spot. The monster smashes through the rocks, forcing him to jump out of the way as he takes a massive hit. His stealth is broken, and he realizes he doesn't have much of a choice anymore. He triggers his talent, warning the beast to back off or prepare to die as he draws his blade. He shouts at the people following the monster to stay back and not drag him into their mess. The demon hound leader roars, ready to tear him apart. He takes another heavy blow, watching his health drop significantly. He knows he has to end this fast before it can land another lucky hit. He leaps into the air, aiming a final strike at the towering beast. One clean hit is all it takes to trigger his instant kill effect, sending blood flying. The monster collapses, and he earns the title of Hound Slayer for his trouble. The new title gives him a decent boost to his attack and defense against magical canine beasts. Zhun walked into the ruins, now sporting the Hound Slayer title. The new buff gave him a solid boost to his attack and defense against canine beasts, making him a lot deadlier in this territory. He kept his dagger ready, heading deeper into the wasteland. He turns around and comes face to face with the two hunters who were chasing the beast. The two adventurers, Su Hong and Su Yu, look absolutely stunned that he took the leader down so easily. He tells them he only killed it in self-defense and offers them the loot it dropped. Su Hong recognizes him as the hero who helped them out back at the square. He introduces himself and his sister, thanking Zhun for luring the thugs away earlier. Zhun isn't interested in a long explanation and tells them to keep the items as he prepares to leave. Suyu whispers to her brother that someone this strong could help them challenge the Blackrock Serpent. Su Hong shouts for him to wait, stopping him before he can walk away. He asks Zhun if he'd be willing to join their party for the secret realm boss. Zhun is skeptical, pointing out that he hasn't even hit level 10 yet. Suyu explains that they need to defeat all 3 beginner bosses before reaching level 10 to earn a rare title. Su Hong adds that the title gives a huge stat boost and is a requirement for joining the top guilds. They're desperate for a powerhouse like him to join them on such a high-stakes mission. Zhun considers it, knowing his talent will protect him if they try to pull anything. He figures it's also a good chance to pick up some insider info that only higher-level players know. He agrees to join their party and shake hands to seal the deal. They even give him a high-quality dagger forged from the demon hound's fang as a sign of good faith. He realizes he might have been overthinking their motives as they start heading toward the boss lair together. Zhun stands at the glowing red entrance of the beginner's secret realm, eyeing the path ahead to the Blackrock Serpent's lair. He spots a group of players loitering by the blue portal, likely there to extort anyone trying to enter the boss room. He follows Su Hong and Suyu into the cavern, glad that joining their party saved him from paying the entrance fee. The trio descends deeper into the dark, rocky tunnels, heading toward the heart of the dungeon. They finally encounter their target, the Blackrock Serpent, a slender purple snake coiled around a stone pillar. Su Hong and Suyu prepare for battle, with the warrior explaining the boss's dangerous patterns. The serpent lets out a piercing hiss as it senses the intruders entering its territory. The creature's eyes glow with a menacing purple light as it begins to uncoil itself from the pillar. The boss's stats appear before them, a level 15 monster with a formidable health pool and powerful skills. Su Hong steps forward to tank the first blow, his shield absorbing the brunt of the serpent's physical damage. Zhun watches from a distance, calculating that a single unblocked hit from this beast would deal over 1,300 damage to him. He stays on the move, keeping a safe distance while the warrior and mage take the lead in the fight. He imagines himself getting crushed like a novice in a strategy guide, reinforcing his cautious approach to the battle. Even with his powerful talent, he knows that fighting a boss like this solo would have been a grueling struggle. The Blackrock Serpent roars, preparing to unleash its devastating, frenzied slam ability. Su Hong shouts a warning as massive stone spikes begin to rain down from the cave ceiling. The cavern floor is engulfed in dust and debris as the heavy rocks crash down, dealing area damage. Zhun maneuvers through the chaos, narrowly dodging the falling stalactites as he stays in the shadows. Su Hong tells him to stay in stealth for now, wanting to keep their secret weapon hidden until the right moment. Suyu casts a healing spell on her brother, keeping him steady as they wait for the boss to enter its weakened state. Their strategy is to chip away at its health slowly until it hits the critical 20% threshold. Zhun knows that's when the berserk skill kicks in, making the boss faster, stronger, and much more dangerous. He contemplates his open and aboveboard talent, hesitant to reveal its true nature to his new companions. He decides he'll have to take off his current gear soon to maximize his attack power for the finishing blow. He checks the stats of his cursed demon sheep necklace, which grants him extra health at the cost of half his attack power. He's confident that once he activates his instant kill effect, the boss's berserk phase won't even matter. Meanwhile, at the entrance to the Blackrock Serpent's lair, the red-haired boss and his crew prepare to enter. The archer thug expresses his concern, knowing they'll be stuck in the room until the boss is defeated. The red-haired boss doesn't care about their safety and threatens to kill anyone who hesitates. He uses their families as leverage, forcing the reluctant thugs to follow his lead into the cave. With no other choice, the group of low-level thugs charges into the dungeon entrance, screaming in fear. The red-haired boss watches them with cold indifference, seeing them as nothing more than sacrificial pawns. Inside, the thugs arrive as the boss enters its weakened state, and their boss orders them to attack. His goal is to force the serpent into berserk mode so it kills Zhun and his party to avenge his fallen brother. The archer thug pleads for his life, knowing that a berserk boss will likely kill them all too. The red-haired boss leans in with a sadistic grin, giving him an ultimatum: die now or take his chances with the serpent. Terrified, the thugs unleash a barrage of arrows and magic at the unsuspecting boss. The red-haired boss orders the full assault, catching Su Hong and Suyu completely by surprise. Fireballs and glowing arrows rain down on the serpent, rapidly depleting its health. Su Hong looks around in confusion as a flurry of magical and physical attacks strikes the area. The cavern is filled with explosions as the Blackrock Serpent's health drops dangerously fast toward the berserk threshold. Still hiding in the shadows, Zhun watches the chaos unfold, wondering what on earth is happening. Su Hong urgently tells Su Yu to use an escape stone so they can leave before the situation worsens. Su Hong tosses an escape stone to Yu Zhun, calling him a hero and urging him to flee as well. He explains that they have a 10-second window before the Black Rock Serpent fully enters its berserk state. Su Hong and Su Yu are enveloped in a bright blue light as they teleport safely out of the dungeon. Yu Zhun is surprised by their generosity, knowing that escape stones are incredibly rare and expensive. He examines the glowing stone, appreciative of Su Hong's kindness and considering him a true friend. The Black Rock Serpent let out a low growl, its purple body beginning to pulsate with energy. Rock fragments fly everywhere as the beast's power surges, signaling the start of its transformation. The serpent's eyes flare with a sinister violet light as it fully embraces its primal rage. A system notification confirms that the Black Rock Serpent has officially entered its berserk state. The archer thug screams in terror as the massive snake turns its murderous gaze toward him and his group. Still hidden in the shadows, Yu Zhun realizes that the serpent has targeted the intruders because he is still in stealth. The red-haired boss barks orders at his men, demanding they find the assassin brat and force the boss to target him instead. Suddenly, he gasps in shock as a sharp pain blooms in his chest, catching him off guard. An arrow protrudes from the red-haired boss's chest, leaving him stunned and bleeding. The archer thug laughs hysterically, reveling in the fact that he's dragged his abusive boss down with them. He declares that if they are going to die, they should all die together in this godforsaken cave. The Black Rock Serpent unleashes a massive, meteor crash attack, crushing the entire group of thugs in an instant. Yu Zhun watches the carnage with a cold look, thinking to himself that this is simply karma for their actions. With everyone else gone, Yu Zhun's stealth naturally dissipates, leaving him alone with the berserk boss. He steps out from the shadows, no longer needing to pretend he's just an ordinary, low-level assassin. He draws his dagger, looking at the serpent with a confident smirk, knowing it can't even touch him now. For the sake of his and his sister's future, Yu Zhun declares that he will kill the Black Rock Serpent openly and aboveboard. He charges forward with incredible speed, his unique talent activating as he prepares for the final, decisive strike. Yu Zhun leaps into the air as a massive tail swings his way. This obsidian rock snake isn't playing around, it's entered a berserk state, and it's moving twice as fast now. The thugs who tried to sabotage him are already history, crushed under a pile of rubble. They wanted to mess with the boss, and they paid for it with their lives. Now it's just Yu Zhun and the beast. He doesn't look worried, though. He's got his open and aboveboard talent fully primed. The serpent lets out a deafening roar, its purple eyes glowing with pure rage. It's ready to tear him apart. Yu Zhun just smirks. He's been waiting for a real challenge to settle this once and for all. The monster rears back, preparing a frenzied smash that looks like it could level the entire cavern. Yu Zhun dives through the falling debris, moving like a blur as the ground beneath him shatters. He shouted his name and his intent as he charged, in order to activate the skill's passive ability. He lands a strike, but instead of blood, there's a shower of sparks. His blade just bounces off those rock-hard scales. Yu Zhun's eyes widen in shock. His attack was completely deflected. The serpent doesn't give him a second to breathe, raining down a meteor strike that turns the floor into a crater. The shockwave sends him flying back into the jagged stone walls. He realizes he made a huge miscalculation. His talent is active, but it won't trigger unless he deals at least 1 point of damage first. He pops a health potion, thinking back to some gossip he heard at the tavern. Even the highest defense has a limit, he just needs to find the crack in the armor. The beast looms over him, its massive body coiling for another strike. He needs a special mechanic to bypass that damage immunity. He barely ducks behind a pillar as that massive tail comes whipping around again. Another tail whip connects, slamming him into the ground with enough force to make him cough up blood. For a second, he considers using an escape stone to reset the fight, but that's not his style. Another meteor comes crashing down, and the serpent's face is right in his grill. He scrambles up the monster's back, searching for any vulnerability he can exploit. And then, he sees it. A tiny flicker of light amidst all those dark purple scales. There's a single white scale on its head. That's got to be the weak point he's looking for. He grips his dagger tight. It's been there the whole time, even through the berserk phase. He starts climbing higher, moving with absolute focus despite the chaos around him. He launches himself off a cliff, diving straight for the serpent's head. If this immunity is just a mechanic, then that white scale is his ticket to a one-hit kill. The serpent hisses, ready to swallow him whole as he falls. He readies his blade one last time. This beast is about to become a stepping stone for his new destiny. One more meteor strike erupts, but he's already in the air. This is his only shot. He zeroes in on the target. The serpent's head slams down, creating a massive explosion of dust and rock. But Yu Zhun is already on top of it, plunging his dagger down with everything he's got. He shouts his final declaration, his voice echoing through the lair. The blade pierces the white scale. A golden light explodes as the open and aboveboard talent finally triggers. The serpent lets out one final, agonizing shriek as its life force is torn away in an instant. Zhun sticks the landing as the massive body behind him starts to dissolve into purple energy. A ghostly form rises from the remains. For a second, he thinks there might be a second phase to the fight, but the spirit just thanks him, finally free from whatever corruption was driving it mad. Notifications flood his vision. He just hit level 7 and earned a new title, Hidden Warrior. And the loot? It looks like he just hit the jackpot. Zhun checks his loot after the boss goes down. He managed to snag some master-grade gear, the obsidian rock snake scale armor. It's packed with heavy defense stats and even has a life-saving heal effect. Not a bad haul for taking out a level 15 beast solo. He checks the stats and can't help but smile. Not only is it tanky, but it's got 2 passive effects that'll make him even harder to kill. Back inside the lair, Zhun sifts through the loot, wondering what else he might find after such a brutal fight. Meanwhile, Su Hong and Su Yu are still waiting outside, overcome with guilt for dragging an innocent player into this mess. Su Hong sighs, lamenting that they should have never provoked those thugs in the first place. None of this would have happened if they'd just been more careful. Su Yu looks towards the entrance with worry. It's been so long, and she fears Zhun didn't even have time to use his escape stone before the boss crushed him. Su Hong is determined, though. He's prepared to wait until the light barrier turns blue, signaling the end of the battle. If those thugs manage to survive, he's going to personally make them pay for what they did to their hero. Su Yu's heart sinks as she realizes they never even got to learn the man's name. Just then, the barrier begins to change color. Seeing the blue light, Su Hong readies his sword, bracing himself for whatever is about to come walking out of that tunnel. But instead of a monster or a group of thugs, a familiar silhouette emerges from the blue mist. Zhun strolls out casually, giving them a small salute. He apologizes for the delay, mentioning that things got a bit complicated in there. The siblings are absolutely floored. Su Hong can barely get the words out, stunned that he's not only alive but seemingly completely fine. Zhun shrugs it off, explaining that the boss was a bit harder to deal with once it went berserk, which added a little extra time to the clock. When they ask about the thugs, he tells them the truth. The moment the serpent went into a frenzy, it wiped them out instantly, leaving nobody behind. Su Hong lets out a sigh of relief. It's a weight off his shoulders knowing the trash took itself out. Zhun pulls out a large, ornate book he looted. It's a piece of priest-class gear, and he knows exactly who could use it. He offers them a trade, the book in exchange for some detailed info on the other 2 bosses in the novice dungeon. Being an honest assassin, he's always looking for a fair deal. After taking down the obsidian rock snake, Zhun hung back with Su Hong and Su Yu outside the entrance. They were decent people and even added him as a friend, but he eventually had to head out before they learned too much about his talent. Turns out, those 2 are the children of the Red Dragon Guild's leader, and once they heard he wanted to solo the next bosses, they gave him a detailed guild-only guide. It's honestly a bit too thorough. Reading through it, it feels like there's barely any challenge left. But who cares about a challenge? If it gets him back to UZ faster so she stops worrying, he's all for it. Su Hong mentioned that Major Guild scout rookies early, loading them up with cash and gear before they even enter the dungeon. Now that those thugs are dealt with, he can finally head to Ashen City to upgrade his gear and trade with other players. The trading district is as packed as ever. He laid out all those demonic horns from the ruins and started selling them off. Then it was off to the blacksmith to turn his profits into something more useful. He traded the raw materials for cold hard cash, and put that money straight into forging a new blade. Most of the high-tier drops from the snake require level 10 to use, so he had to do some smart shopping to bridge the gap in the meantime. After browsing around the city, he finally managed to scrape together a decent set of gear. Since his honorable talent handles the damage, he doesn't need high attack stats, so he chose the Windswift Leopard Fong blade for the speed. The extra speed lets him handle combat with absolute ease. Next was the Blessing of the Lizard Dragon, armor that provides a massive shield at the start of every battle. That pairs perfectly with the Cursed Necklace of the Black Demonic Sheep, which doubles his max HP at the cost of his raw attack power. He also swapped his stealth skill for phasing. Since he has to announce himself to use his talent, being invisible is pretty much useless anyway. After hitting level 5, he dumped his skill point into swift steps to travel faster and clear dungeons sooner. Finally, He maxed out his inventory with stacks of potions to counter the next boss's crowd control. Fully prepared, Zhun made his way to the boss lair to take down both the rhino and the turtle. As he walked in, everyone stopped and stared. He marched past the crowds, ignoring the looks. People started whispering, calling him an edgy kid with terminal chinibyo. They watched from a distance, thinking he was just some delusional hothead. He'll admit, role-playing like this is absolute social suicide, and it's exhausting. But, it's all worth it. There it is. The level 15 blazing demonic rhino. He drew his daggers and dramatically shouted his name. His talent activated the second he finished his speech. The beast roared and charged, completely unaware it was already doomed. He's always found using his talent in public to be incredibly embarrassing. Not to mention, it makes it way too easy for people to figure out his trigger conditions. But if he acts like an edgy assassin, loudly declaring his kills and marching straight at his targets, then all those weird triggers seem completely normal, and no one suspects a thing. With so many people gathered here, it's the perfect time to establish this persona. Plus, people instinctively stay away from chinibyos anyway to avoid the drama. It's two birds with one stone. A guy on the ground complained, wondering why he wouldn't just party up. Zhun just asked if the guy really thought he couldn't take this rhino solo. The onlookers were baffled, watching this supposed nutcase walk straight toward danger. Zhun just kept the act going, loudly asking if they dared to doubt him. Inside, he was cringing hard, telling himself not to look at anyone while he maintained his edgy pose. He shouted about proving his divine worth and conquering the rhino without any commoners to help. He marched past the crowd, his gaze fixed forward. People scrambled to get out of his way as he picked up speed. The players behind him whispered about how kids like him were a dying breed since the game started. They felt sorry for him, thinking a good kid was about to lose his life to a boss monster. Zhun let out a sigh, realizing that role-playing as a chinibyo was absolute social suicide. But, if it meant survival, he'd commit to the bit. It was all worth it the moment he stood before the level 15 blazing demonic rhino. The massive beast loomed over him, its skin made of hardened magma and its horn burning bright. He drew his daggers, loudly declaring that he, Zhun, would slay the beast today. The system pinged immediately. His honorable talent was now active. The rhino charged, sending cracks through the ground with every heavy step. Zhun leaped into the air, his blade glowing with a fierce blue energy as he delivered the final blow. The massive beast collapsed into a pile of ash and smoke. That rhino really was a hard counter for assassins. Even with the win, Zhun's health bar had taken a hit just from the heat. He stood triumphantly as the system confirmed he'd reached level 8 and earned a new title, Molten Warrior. The title gave him a nice boost to magic attack, which was a great little bonus for a job well done. That was one boss down. Now he just had one more to go. Next on the list was the Azure Magic Turtle. It didn't take long for him to track down the giant turtle and finish it off, too. Another successful solo kill meant more levels and more rewards. He reached level 9 and earned 2 more titles, including Novice Bully, for clearing the low-level bosses so fast. The title provided a nice 10% boost to all his basic stats. He was finally closing in on level 10. Suddenly, a new system notification appeared. He'd met some kind of hidden condition. A red envelope floated before him, another trial invitation. He stared at it in surprise, having no idea what this could be. Apparently, defeating all 3 beginner bosses solo was what triggered it. The system explained that it was a bound item for a hidden secret realm filled with generous rewards. It was so rare that even the Red Dragon Guild's guide didn't mention it. A hidden trial like this was bound to have some top-tier items waiting at the end. He just needed to grind a bit more to be ready for whatever was inside. He went back to hunting smaller monsters, aiming to hit level 10 as quickly as possible. When he returned to the city, the whispers followed him again. People were already talking about the arrogant solo player. Some thought he was a trainee from the top guild, Holy Law Pegasus, because no normal rookie could solo those bosses. But then someone recognized him as the chinibyo powerhouse everyone had been making fun of lately. Zhun ignored them all, especially now that he'd finally hit level 10. He was officially an adventurer now, and he had 2 fresh skill points to spend. The level up also unlocked the creature appraisal feature, allowing him to see enemy stats and skills for himself. No wonder the guide he got was so accurate. High-level players must use this all the time. The system notification buzzed, informing Zhun that he could no longer gain experience in the beginner's secret realm and asking if he wanted to leave immediately. Zhun smirked, declining the automatic exit since he still had plenty of business to take care of before moving on. He pulled out the escape stone Su Hong had given him, deciding to use it to reach a specific destination rather than a random spawn point. With a firm grip, he crushed the stone, releasing the stored spatial magic within. Choosing his destination carefully, he selected Ember City's plaza and vanished in a swirl of blue energy. Moments later, he materialized in the city, ready to make his final preparations before tackling the mysterious nether trial. His first stop was the marketplace, where he began negotiating for the specific gear he knew he'd need for the upcoming challenge. The shopkeeper watched as the young man meticulously inspected the wares, his eyes sharp and focused. He handed over a heavy bag of coins, satisfied with the deal he had managed to strike for high-grade equipment. Fully outfitted with a master-grade dagger, ring, and armor, Zhun felt his survival chances skyrocket as the gear's stats integrated with his own. Next, he opened his character menu to distribute the skill points he had saved up, prioritizing his mobility and combat techniques. He swapped out his passive healing for the more aggressive shadow execution, knowing that in the trial, overwhelming offense would be his best defense. Finally, he held up the red nether trial invitation, the last piece of the puzzle for his grand plan. With his equipment optimized and his skills sharpened, he prepared to activate the rare item. He tore the invitation open, and the parchment dissolved into glowing crimson fragments that danced around him. The air in the city square shimmered as a massive magic circle formed beneath his feet, shedding white feathers into the wind. Suddenly, two ethereal figures materialized, a radiant angel and a dark, horned demon, serving as the dual gatekeepers to the trial. Looking up at the sky, Zhun whispered a promise to his sister, Yuzi, that he would return stronger than ever before. Without a moment's hesitation, he stepped forward into the swirling red portal that had opened in the ground. He plummeted through a kaleidoscopic tunnel of energy as the system welcomed him to the 22-floor solo trial. He landed in the center of a vast, silent coliseum, the system's message taking on a strangely challenging and taunting tone. The shift in the system's voice didn't escape him, it felt as though someone, or something, was watching him with personal interest. Before he could ponder it further, a rift of dark energy tore open in the arena's floor across from him. A demonized orc archer vaulted out, its red skin and massive horns marking it as a formidable level 10 opponent. Zhun drew his new gloom blood drinker dagger, a cold smile touching his lips now that no one was around to see him drop the axe. Dropping his facade, he decided to fight with everything he had, intending to finish this floor as quickly as possible. He felt the dark power of the dagger thrumming in his hand, its shadow blade and bloodthirst effects ready to be unleashed. "I am Zhun," he shouted, declaring his name as he activated his open and aboveboard talent and lunged at the beast. The orc snarled, drawing its bow back and releasing a heavy arrow aimed straight for the intruder's heart. With a flick of his wrist, Zhun activated his sword dance, parrying the arrow mid-flight with supernatural precision. He moved like a blur, appearing behind the orc in an instant and delivering a series of devastating slashes. As the monster dissolved into smoke, Zhun exhaled, finding the fight even easier than he had anticipated. The demonic energy of the orc dissipated into the air, leaving nothing but the sound of the wind in the arena. He marveled at how naturally his body moved. Upgrading sword dance had granted him a level of mastery that felt like decades of training. A system window appeared, congratulating him on clearing the first floor and asking if he dared to proceed further. He hit yes without hesitation, and a low rumble echoed as the entire arena floor began to sink like a massive elevator. The platform came to a halt, and Zhun tightened his grip on his daggers, sensing a much greater threat looming in the dark. This time, two portals opened simultaneously, casting a malevolent purple glow across the stone floor. Out stepped a hulking demonized orc commander alongside a shaman draped in green robes, their eyes glowing with murderous intent. Zhun didn't wait for them to make the first move, charging forward once again with his open and aboveboard talent active. But the shaman was faster, slamming its staff down and erupting a wave of freezing energy that caught Zhun off guard. His legs were encased in ice instantly, trapping him in place as he desperately reached for a blazing fire potion to break the freeze. Just as the shaman's freezing magic takes hold, the massive demonized orc commander lunges forward, aiming to crush the immobile assassin with its heavy mace. Reacting with practiced ease, Zhun downs the blazing fire potion he had kept ready for just such an occasion. The heat from the potion shatters the ice instantly, and he leaps backward to regain his footing, thankful for the foresight to pack specialized counters. Across the arena, the demonized orc shaman raises its staff again, the gem atop it pulsing with another surge of malevolent energy. Zhun's eyes narrow as he activates the active skill of his Azure Water Dragon Binder ring, intended to turn the tide of the battle. A beam of brilliant blue energy shoots from the ring, striking the shaman and binding it in a web of restrictive magical chains. With the caster temporarily incapacitated, Zhun turns his cold, calculating gaze toward the hulking commander. The massive orc roars in defiance, but Zhun simply readies his daggers, knowing the fight has just become a simple matter of execution. The commander brings its spiked club down with bone-shattering force, missing Zhun by a hair's breadth and cratering the stone floor. Instead of retreating, the assassin uses the heavy weapon as a stepping stone, vaulted high into the air with predatory grace. He descends like a hawk upon its prey, his purple-bladed daggers glowing with lethal intent as the orc struggles to recover its balance. In a single, fluid motion, he slashes through the beast's neck, a fountain of dark blood erupting as the commander's life force is extinguished. As the massive warrior dissolves into shadow, Zhun lands softly and immediately pivots back toward the shaman. He feels the chill of another spell forming in the air and knows he must act before the shaman's cooldown expires. He realizes he has only a split second before the shaman breaks free of the dragon bind, and he can't afford to let it cast again. The ring's effect is powerful but fleeting, a brief window of opportunity that he must capitalize on to end the floor. Swift step. Shadow blade, he commands, his body becoming a blur of motion as he activates his high-speed mobility skills. The shaman's eyes widen in terror as it tries to complete its incantation, but it's far too late to stop the incoming strike. Zhun passes through the creature like a ghost, leaving only a trail of dark light where his blade connected with its target. The shaman lets out a final, raspy screech before it, too, vanishes into the ether of the trial realm. Standing alone in the arena once more, Zhun watches as his health bar refills, the bloodthirst effect of his dagger nourishing him with the life he just took. He ponders the difficulty ahead, realizing that the enemies will only grow more coordinated as he descends deeper into the trial. A system message chimes, confirming the clearance of the second floor and offering him the choice to proceed to the next challenge. With a determined smirk, Zhun accepts, his eyes fixed on the path ahead as the arena begins to descend once more. A solid kick to the face sends one of them flying. Fourth floor. Zhun smack in the middle of a crowd, but his blue energy shards are doing most of the work. Fifth floor is down. He takes a breather, leaning on his knees while he tries to catch his breath. The loot screen finally pops up, 15,000 EXP and a pile of enhancement stones. Not bad. He wipes some sweat off, looking a little annoyed. He legit thought that generous rewards were a total scam for a second. Turns out they just stack up and notify him every 5 floors. Efficient, I guess. No point in stopping now. He tells the system to keep it coming. He tears through the next few floors. 6, 7, 8, 9, it's just a blur of blood and daggers. He skids to a halt as the 10th floor clears. The rewards are getting serious now, 55,000 EXP and a mountain of stones. The system warns him the next boss is a level 20 demonized orc commander. It asks if he wants to stay. He remembers a shopkeeper saying those enhancement stones sell for 20,000 each. He does the math in his head. If he leaves now, he's already a millionaire in the real world. But why settle for 1 million when you can have 10? Greed is a hell of a motivator. He locks in. He's going to see exactly how far he can push this. Divine revelation. I'm continuing the challenge. Purple energy starts boiling out of the arena floor. A massive shadow towers over him. Zhun realizes he might have underestimated the scale of this thing. A giant red hand grips a mace that's basically just a spiked rock on a stick. The demonized orc commander glares down at him with glowing red eyes and some nasty tusks. It's a literal mountain of meat. 80,000 HP and a skill that summons a whole army. This isn't a normal mob. Zhun scans the stats. High attack, high defense, it's got everything. He doesn't look too worried, though. He's dealt with bigger headaches before. To trigger his talent, he shouts his name and intent right at the beast's face. He kicks into high gear, activating his speed skills to close the distance. Before he can even land a hit, that massive mace is already coming down like a falling house. A direct hit. The ground practically shatters under the weight of the boss's swing. Zhun barely rolls out of the way. For something that huge, the commander is terrifyingly fast. The boss lets out a deafening roar and raises its mace again. Suddenly, glowing purple runes spread across the floor right under Zhun's feet. He's trapped. There's no way he can dodge the next hit in time. He has to burn his new skill, Phase Shift. Level 2. The mace connects with a massive explosion of dust and debris. Zhun is thrown back, coughing up some blood from the sheer force of the impact. Thank God he upgraded that skill. Without the 50% damage reduction, he'd be a pancake. Getting close to this guy is gonna be a total nightmare. He prepares his real trump card. Time to show why he spent all that money. The orc lunges again, screaming its head off. Zhun reactivates his movement skills, his face going completely stone cold. He ducks under the commander's next wild swing. He moves like a blur, leaving blue afterimages as he zips past the giant's legs. He's not going for the body. He's aiming straight for the shadow. This skill was originally a backup plan for high-level bosses like that Blackrock Serpent, but it's looking pretty useful right now. The demonized orc commander freezes up, looking completely blindsided. Zhun strikes the boss's shadow directly, bypassing all its heavy physical armor. It's working even better than he expected. The damage output is insane. Shadow Execution Level 1. Every time he hits the shadow, the target loses 10% of its total HP. Spending 100,000 credits to delete his healing skill for this was easily his best investment. The commander screams in agony as its life bar starts plummeting. Die to this attack, it cost me 100,000. Zhun roars as he goes in for the kill. Zhun doesn't waste time, calling out the orc commander and demanding its loot. He lands a massive overhead strike, triggering his one-hit kill talent. The giant beast lets out a final, deafening roar as it's deleted from existence. The reward screen pops up, 20,000 EXP and a pile of master-grade gear. On top of the loot, he earns the title, Nether Apostle, boosting his core attributes by 20%. When asked if he wants to continue, he steps forward and confirms his choice. He moves into the next area but notices something's off. No monsters have spawned yet. A stray arrow whistles through the air, barely missing his head. He barely leans back in time to watch the projectile fly past. This floor isn't empty. The enemy was already lying in wait. He spots the demonic elf archer and shouts his name to activate his ultimate skill. The archer prepares a rapid-fire barrage, her stats showing a massive health pool. Zhun stacks his concealment and swift steps skills to close the distance. A rain of arrows descends, forcing him to keep moving. He triggers phasing to slip through the deadly volley. He weaves through the projectiles, trusting his buffs to keep him safe. Even with a few arrows grazing him, he ignores the pain and keeps charging. He reaches the archer and delivers a point-blank slash. She doesn't even have time to scream before the one-hit kill takes hold. Her body erupts into purple flames, leaving nothing behind. Another portal appears with the same prompt to keep going. He realizes the door has 10 slots, meaning he's got 9 more of these fights to clear. Before he can catch his breath, a new elven warrior lunges at him. He sidesteps the heavy strike just as the floor below him shatters. Something catches his eye, but he's too slow to react. A blade sinks into his shoulder from behind. An invisible assassin finally shows himself. He realizes he's dealing with a stealth-type monster that can turn completely invisible. He activates phasing again to pull away before the hidden enemy can finish him off. He stands his ground and announces his name once more, resetting his talent. Both elves stare him down, and the assassin vanishes into thin air again. He's prepared for this, knowing his earlier shopping trip is about to pay off. He pulls out a combination of fire oil and demonic rhino saliva. He dances around the warrior's attacks, waiting for the perfect moment. Activating Shadow Blade and swift steps, he prepares his counter. He uses the visible warrior as a distraction, parrying a heavy shield bash. A quick slash catches the warrior elf, though it's not the killing blow he's after. While flipping through the air, he lets the 2 glass vials slip from his hand. They smash against the floor, mixing the flammable liquids together. The air ignites, forcing the invisible assassin to reveal his location. It worked, but since it's indirect damage, his one-hit kill talent doesn't kick in yet. With the assassin finally visible, he lunges forward and delivers a fatal strike. A massive shockwave ripples out as both enemies are finally put down. After clearing the previous floor, a prompt appears asking if Zhun wants to keep the momentum going. He's already walking toward the next dark portal. He's not stopping now. He wants to see exactly how deep this dungeon goes and, more importantly, what kind of legendary loot is waiting at the end. He hits floor 22, and the system warns him that he's about to face a level 20 boss, the demonic elf commander. The game gives him one last chance to cash out his current rewards, but Zhun doubles down and confirms he's continuing the challenge. A massive set of golden doors groans open, flooding the hallway with an intense, holy radiance. The light is so bright he has to shield his eyes, wondering just what kind of arena he's walking into. He enters a grand hall lined with towering white pillars, reaching up into a dark, starless void. High above, a massive vortex of dark clouds swirls, giving the entire room an oppressive feel. Sitting on a golden throne is the demonic elf commander, who sounds almost relieved to see another human finally make it this far. Zhun is caught off guard by the fact that a dungeon boss is actually talking to him and asks if they can communicate. The boss just smirks, taunting Zhun and claiming he'll be scurrying away in defeat soon enough. Zhun locks in, his expression going cold as he tells the commander he has no intention of losing. The boss lets out a weary sigh, mentioning that he can't even maintain his current form for much longer after just a few words. Sudden flares of purple energy erupt around him, signaling the start of the real fight. The commander's eyes glow with a sinister red light as he challenges Zhun to bring everything he's got. Zhun breaks into a sweat, feeling the sheer pressure radiating off the level 20 enemy. The boss stands his ground, inviting Zhun to step over his corpse and grow stronger if he can. A stat screen pops up, revealing a terrifying 400,000 HP and a deadly, Death Curse skill that can wipe out 90% of a player's health instantly. Zhun grips his dagger tight, realizing this guy is on a completely different level than anything he's faced so far. The commander steps forward, his voice booming as he demands authority over the entire realm. Zhun is confused by the sudden personality shift, wondering if the game is trying to tell him something through this weird NPC behavior. The boss doesn't give him time to think, pointing a finger and unleashing the death curse to end things quickly. A massive, shadowy skull looms over Zhun, ready to crush him. He panics, desperately activating his phasing skill to hopefully soften the blow. The curse hits with a violent purple explosion, a giant skull face grinning as it drains his life. He barely survives, his health bar dropping to almost nothing, but phasing's damage reduction saved him from an instant death. The boss doesn't stop, following up with a burial skill intended to finish him off for good. Instead of retreating, Zhun goes all in, announcing his name to trigger fair and square while activating all his combat buffs. The commander is shocked by the sheer audacity of the human as he declares himself the king of this realm. A heavy chain whip catches Zhun mid-dash, but he refuses to let it slow him down. He knows the next hit won't kill him, so he decides to just tank the damage and charge straight through. He pushes his body to the limit, getting just a few feet away from the boss. The commander yells out one last warning as Zhun closes the gap. He lands his strike exactly as calculated, surviving on the tiniest sliver of health. With his target in range, he tells the commander to rest in peace and delivers the final blow. The boss stares back, his expression suddenly going soft as the attack connects. The one-hit kill text flashes across the screen in massive yellow letters, confirming the victory. The commander actually smiles, congratulating Zhun on defeating an unworthy king. He explains that after eons of torment, he is finally free from his role in the game. Zhun watches him dissolve, noticing the same pattern from the Blackrock Serpent and wondering if there's a secret storyline hidden here. The spirit of the commander leaves him with one last piece of advice: to strive for even greater strength. He tells him not to end up like the fallen ones before vanishing completely, leaving Zhun alone in the massive chamber. Zhun ponders the boss's dying words. It feels like a scripted warning from God's revelation itself: grow stronger at all costs, or face the consequences. A system window pops up, confirming he's officially defeated the Floor 22 boss. He's raking in 50,000 XP and a mountain of epic rewards as a purple portal opens up. He's also earned a new title, Nether Warlord, which comes with a massive 50% boost to 3 attributes of his choice. Not a bad haul for one fight. The system prompts him to step through the portal to collect his full clearance rewards. Without hesitation, he walks into the swirling purple energy to leave the dungeon. He finds himself on a cosmic platform, flanked by a demon and an angel gatekeeper. A prompt tells him to open the massive golden treasure chest waiting for him. Zhun reaches out, his hand hovering over the ornate surface of the chest. This is the moment he's been working for. For a split second, all the pain and near-death experiences flash through his mind. He's bled and struggled more than anyone knows to reach this point. He takes a deep breath. After all that hardship, his wish of providing a better life for his sister is finally coming true. He throws the lid open, and the chest lets out a satisfying mechanical click. An explosion of red and blue light erupts from the chest, illuminating his surprised face. It's like a fountain of pure magic. Mysterious energy orbs fly out into the air, swirling around the room in a chaotic, colorful dance. 3 glowing crystals materialize before him, pulsing with a bright light. He's never seen anything like them and wonders what they are. The XP tally finally hits, granting him nearly 300,000 experience points. Level up notifications flood his vision as he hits level 16. He realizes that reaching level 16 means he can finally equip those 3 pieces of epic gear he's been sitting on since the earlier floors. The system asks if he'd like to pick his weapon now. A card depicting a wickedly curved dagger appears in a burst of purple flame. He confirms his choice, and suddenly the space around him fractures into glowing blue shards. It's a bit overwhelming. He's suddenly surrounded by hundreds of floating daggers. He's a bit caught off guard, wondering what the hell is happening. It turns out the game is letting him handpick his preferred weapon from a massive selection. Talk about a spoiled choice. A confident smirk plays on his lips. This is a tough choice, and it's definitely going to take some time to find the perfect one. As he sorts through the loot, his thoughts drift back home. He just hopes Yuzi isn't crying her eyes out while he's gone. Back in the city, the doorbell of a small convenience store chimes as a customer enters. Life goes on outside the dungeon. Yuzi is behind the counter, busy bagging up some health and mana potions for a regular customer. She handles the transaction with her usual polite smile. She waves the man off, telling him to come again, but her mind is clearly elsewhere. She's just going through the motions. Once the shop is empty, her expression falters, replaced by a look of deep, silent concern. The silence is the worst part. The shop owner notices her distress and gives her a reassuring pat on the shoulder. She tells Yuzi that her brother is too smart to get himself into real trouble. Yuzi tries to believe her, but the what-ifs are still eating away at her. She just wants him back safe. As the sun begins to set, casting long shadows across the street, a familiar silhouette appears outside the store, and the chime rings again. Yuzi quickly wipes her eyes and puts on her best retail face, welcoming the guest in before she even looks up. She freezes mid-sentence, her eyes going wide with shock. Her heart just skipped a beat. Her hands fly to her face as tears of relief start to pour out. She's so overwhelmed she can barely speak a single word. Standing in the doorway is Zhun, looking a bit messy but very much alive. He gives her a sheepish grin and asks if he kept her waiting too long. He managed to clear the entire trial and exit the dungeon without any more drama. Now, the two of them are walking home, Yuzi happily clinging to his arm. To keep his honorable talent a secret, he decided to stay anonymous on the global leaderboards, even though he's ranked 42nd in the world. He's not looking for fame. He knows staying hidden might make it harder to join a top-tier guild, but his sister's safety is way more important than popularity. They walk past a giant billboard for the Pegasus Group. He decides to use the official auction house to sell off his extra loot. They take a massive 40% cut, but it's fast, safe, and most importantly, anonymous. Once the gold starts hitting his account, the balance reaches a figure he never thought possible. He takes Yuzi on a shopping spree at a fancy mall. After selling off all the gear he didn't need, his account balance is finally looking healthy. He can finally relax a little. He ends up carrying a giant stuffed tiger, growling playfully at his sister while she laughs her head off. He's just happy to see her happy. For the first time in their lives, they don't have to check the price tags. They can just buy whatever makes them happy, tiger plushies included. They stop at a trendy cafe with a cute heart-shaped sign, looking for a place to sit and enjoy their day. A single run through the novice dungeon was all it took to change everything. Now, they're sitting down to a feast of fancy strawberry cake and ice cream. Zhun watches his sister enjoy her dessert, a sense of peace finally settling over him. Their lives have been completely transformed, and for the better. Yuzi is having the time of her life, trying on every outfit she can find. From elegant red dresses to trendy streetwear, she looks like a completely different person in each one. She holds up a simple blue shirt for her brother's approval, but Zhun is barely visible behind the wall of shopping bags and that massive tiger plushie he's been lugging around. Even though his arms are screaming, Zhun can't help but smile. He knows this is only the beginning, and he'll likely be carrying many more bags in their new life. They stop by the convenience store to thank Yuzi's boss for all her help over the years. The woman is genuinely touched, insisting they're still just children in her eyes. Next, they visit the tavern. Zhun's boss is ecstatic, booming with laughter at the news that one of his own has finally become a class holder. The boss claps a massive hand on Zhun's shoulder, joking that he's going to use his new muscle to keep any local troublemakers in line. Zhun just takes it in stride. Yuzi, however, is less than impressed. She peeks around the door, grumbling about the tavern boss being a bad influence on her brother while Zhun waves his farewells. The long day finally catches up with them in the taxi ride home. Yuzi is out cold, using her giant new tiger as a pillow while Zhun watches over her with a gentle smile. He looks at her with a soft, affectionate expression. To him, she'll always be his silly little sister, no matter how much their circumstances change. Watching her sleep so deeply, he realizes she probably hasn't had a moment of peace since he entered the dungeon. The stress of waiting for him must have been exhausting. When they get home, he carries her up on his back, bags and tiger included. It's a heavy load, but he doesn't mind one bit as long as she's safe. He gently lays her down on her bed. She doesn't even stir, her breathing deep and rhythmic as she finally gets some well-deserved rest. He turns to leave the room, wanting to let her sleep in peace, but he doesn't get very far before something stops him. A small hand reaches out from the blankets, gripping the edge of his jacket with a surprising amount of strength. She's not ready for him to leave just yet. He stops and looks back, a bit surprised to see she's still somewhat awake even in her exhausted state. She looks up at him with sleepy eyes, her voice a barely audible whisper as she calls out to him. Even now, she's afraid he might disappear again. He gives her a small, reassuring smile and lets out a quiet sigh. He knows he's not going anywhere tonight. He sits down on the edge of the bed and gently strokes her hair, promising to stay right there until she's sound asleep. The tiger plushie stands guard beside them. Meanwhile, across the city, the sun sets behind the gleaming facade of Pegasus Tower, the headquarters of one of the most powerful guilds in the region. High up in the guild master's office, the atmosphere is much more tense. A subordinate is bowing low, his voice trembling as he apologizes for a failure. He reports that they've hit a dead end. Because the mysterious high-ranking player chose to hide their identity, they haven't been able to find a single lead. The man behind the desk finally speaks, his voice low and cold. He tells his subordinate not to be afraid, though his predatory smirk suggests otherwise. This is Long Zhang, the guild master of Sacred Pegasus and a powerful high-level priest. He understands better than anyone how hard it is to track someone who wants to stay hidden. He leans back with a calm, confident expression. He's not worried, he's a patient man, and he knows that eventually, everyone leaves a trail for him to find. The subordinate is practically kissing the floor, thanking the guild master for his life. Long Zhang just smiles coldly, telling him not to bother thanking him since he hasn't actually done anything for him yet. Suddenly, blue spectral flames erupt from the man's back, pinning him to the ground. He screams in agony as the dirge of agony skill paralyzes him with excruciating pain for the next 30 seconds. The subordinate collapses in a smoking heap while the guild master watches on from his desk. He casually hits a button on his desk and calls for someone to come clean up the trash. A cleaning crew in full hazmat gear rolls in with a biohazard bin. They start scrubbing the floor and hauling the guy away while Long Zhang thinks about the new SSS grade player who just hit the top 50. He tries to remember the last time he saw a rise this fast. The only other person was the current leader of the sanctuary. One of the cleaners bows as they finish their job and head out. Long Zhang stands up, pacing. He can't wrap his head around why someone that powerful would choose to hide. He looks out at the grand building across the city, remembering how the top rankers usually go public to build their own empires. He refuses to believe anyone would willingly throw away an opportunity for fame and power like that. Unless, of course, the talent has a fatal flaw that makes it useless the second people find out how it works. He reaches out toward the distant skyline, imagining the day his guild finally surpasses everyone else. He clenches his fist, already planning to use this mysterious player as his perfect pawn. He just has to find him first. He recalls how the top player originally got his best gear from a hidden realm called the Nether Trial. Since then, master-grade equipment has been basically non-existent on the market. He orders his team to post a $100 million bounty for that specific gear on the forums. If anyone responds to the offer, he wants them forwarded straight to his office. The bait is set, and it's far too much money for any player to ignore. Now, the guild master just has to sit back and wait for his target to walk right into his trap. Sunrise hits the room as Zhun wakes up. He's been sleeping on the floor, probably too tired to even make it to the bed after whatever he was doing the night before. His little sister, Zhu, comes in to wake him up properly. She's already dressed for school and ready to start the day. Breakfast is pretty humble, just some bread and eggs. It's clear they aren't exactly living the high life right now. Zhun digs in, thinking about how they used up all the food they bought yesterday. He tells her eating light is better for her stomach, but he's mostly just worried about making ends meet. Zhu finishes her meal quickly and announces she's full, leaving the table before he can say much else. Zhun takes over the chores, washing the dishes while his mind starts to wander back to how they got here. He remembers when he and Zhu were still little. It was a chaotic time, right when class holders first started appearing. That's when their parents passed away. Since then, it's just been the two of them against the world. To survive, Zhun had to hustle, working 3 different part-time jobs at once just to keep a roof over their heads. Even Zhu had to help out, working at a convenience store every day after school. It wasn't the childhood he wanted for her. He looks at his reflection in a clean plate, seeing the face of a guy who's tired of just getting by. But now that he's officially a class holder, everything is about to change. No more struggling for every cent. He sits down to check his phone, already planning his next move. Their current place is way too far from Zhu's school, and he's determined to fix that first. He sees Zhu has to wake up before 6 a.m. just to make it to class. He's putting an end to that right now. Then he sees the actual housing prices near her high school. $1 million per square meter. He's risking his life in dungeons and he can barely afford a living room. The cost is insane, but he doesn't care. For his sister's health and future, he's going to get that house no matter what it takes. He checks his inventory. Clearing the Nether Trial gave him some epic grade item selectors, which should be enough to carry him to level 20. That means he can sell off all the master grade gear he doesn't need anymore. It's his best shot at getting some quick cash. If he sells directly and skips the Temple of Revelation's 40% cut, he might just have enough. He logs into the trading forum. He spots a pinned post in the trading hall. Someone is offering 100 million for level 5 purple gear. 100 million. That's a literal jackpot. He can't believe it. How could level 5 gear be worth that much, even if it is purple tier? It feels too good to be true. He looks at the gear he has, actual level 5 purple items. If this is legit, he's set for life. He tells himself to keep a grip. There's no such thing as a free lunch, and this definitely smells like a catch. He decides to head out and use a burner account to test the waters. He's not taking any chances with his real identity. If they're trying to pull a fast one, he'll at least try to bait out who they really are before they find him. But if it's real, the money for that house is as good as secured. He can already see a better life for Yuju. He never thought anyone would pay 100 million just to prep for the nether trial. That's 300 million in total profit if he sells all 3 pieces. With that much money, he could even open a little shop for his sister so she never has to work a hard job again. He's still dreaming about the future when he's interrupted. A guy in a suit is blocking his path. The guard tells him someone wants to see him and asks him to come along. Zhun is instantly on high alert. He's certain he hit his name on the talent rankings and used a burner account. By all logic, he should be a total nobody to the Temple of Revelation. So why is one of their guards stopping him? He realizes he needs to find a way to take control of this situation. He tries to decline, saying he has other business to attend to. He's not just going to follow some random guy. His hand shifts toward his pocket as the tension rises. He's ready to defend himself if this turns ugly. Suddenly, his phone rings. He picks up, confused as to who could be calling him right now. The voice on the other end drops a bombshell. They know his secret skill, fair and square, and tell him to follow the guard if he doesn't want it exposed. Zhun is stunned. Who is this? The caller tells him he'll find out soon enough and claims they don't want to harm him. He realizes this person has enough power to order around the temple staff and knows things he should never know. He really has no choice. He tells the guard to lead the way. Whatever this is, he needs to face it head-on. He follows the guard into a massive, luxurious mansion. He can sell the gear later, but keeping his identity secret is priority number 1. Inside, another staff member confirms that the mysterious person they've been chatting with is indeed on his way. A wealthy-looking man with long white hair is waiting for him. He turns around, asking exactly where this guest is. Inside the luxurious mansion, the assistant in the brown suit is breaking a sweat. He's telling his boss that his plan worked and that Zhun completely fell for his psychology PhD story. He's confident that everything is going according to plan and that the target is already on his way for the face-to-face trade. The boss, a man with long white hair in a matching suit, just smiles. He tells the guy it's fine, because even someone with a PhD in psychology can be played like a fool. The assistant realizes he's in deep trouble and drops to his knees, begging for one more chance to salvage the situation. But the boss is already gathering a dangerous-looking purple energy in his hand. He places his hand on the guy's head, telling him that opportunity only favors the prepared. It's pretty clear this assistant's career, and life, are over. The boss just sighs at the body on the floor, calling it a pity that the guy wasn't prepared for the consequences of his failure. Meanwhile, Zhun is being led into a different room by a bald guard. The guard tells him to head inside, and Zhun prepares for whatever's waiting for him. He steps into an even more opulent hall, where another man is already waiting for him. This guy seems to know exactly who Zhun is. The man welcomes him as the conqueror of the nether trial and the master of the SSS-Rank talent, fair and square. He's clearly done his homework. He thanks Zhun for coming to see him, but Zhun isn't interested in pleasantries. He wants to know who this guy really is. Zhun keeps a cold expression, demanding an identity before they go any further. He's not about to trust a total stranger who knows all his secrets. The man gets up from his throne-like chair and reveals his name is Ji Xiaoyu. Turns out, he's the vice master of the Temple of Revelation. He also mentions he's the grandson of the famous, infernal calamity, Ji Ruoxu. He's basically royalty in this world. Ji Xiaoyu doesn't waste any time. He says he wants to invest in Zhun and help him surpass Temple Master Zhu. He explains that by helping Zhun grow, he can finally surpass his own grandfather and become the strongest mage. Talk about some serious family issues. Zhun processes this info, realizing this guy really is who he says he is. An investment from the Sanctuary of Divine Revelation could change everything for him. Ji Xiaoyu slides a black and gold card across the table. He says there's 100 million on it as an initial investment to help Zhun upgrade his gear. Zhun picks up the card, but he's still skeptical. He wants to know why Ji Xiaoyu chose to seek him out of all people. Ji Xiaoyu asks him if he knows what it's like to live in someone else's shadow, always feeling like you'll never make a name for yourself. He's tired of being the grandson, and wants to make sure everyone knows his name. He sees Zhun as his ticket to the top. Zhun questions the timing and the aggressive way Ji Xiaoyu approached him. He knows there's always a catch with guys like this. Ji Xiaoyu hands him a tablet, telling him he should take a look at the contents before making any decisions. Zhun looks at the screen, seeing a photo of the man in the white suit he saw earlier. Things are starting to connect. Ji Xiaoyu identifies the man as Long Zhan, the guild master of the Sacred Pegasus Guild. Apparently, Long Zhan is already plotting against him. He claims he approached Zhun now because he wanted to show his sincerity and beat Long Zhan to the punch. Zhun isn't completely sold on the sincerity part, but he decides to use this to his advantage. He needs to get stronger before he makes his next move. He decides to treat Ji Xiaoyu like a personal ATM for a while. He's going to squeeze every cent he can out of this billionaire investor. He tells Ji Xiaoyu straight up that 100 million isn't enough if he really wants to invest in someone with his potential. Ji Xiaoyu just laughs it off, saying it's not a problem. He's about to enter the novice dungeon anyway and needs the best gear he can get. He UPS the offer to 150 million for the 3 pieces of level 5 purple gear Zhun has. That's a massive market rate price. Zhun realizes he's hit a goldmine and pushes his luck even further, still claiming it's not enough. He's really testing Ji Xiaoyu's limits. Ji Xiaoyu finally gives his final offer. He'll buy any extra gear Zhun finds at 30% above market price. He warns Zhun not to push his luck any further. Zhun realizes this is a deal he can't pass up. If Ji Xiaoyu is actually reliable, this partnership could be incredibly profitable. He finally agrees to the deal. He hands over the glowing purple gear, telling Ji Xiaoyu to just wire the money to the card he gave him earlier. The trade is complete. As Zhun turns to leave, Ji Xiaoyu calls out to him, his expression turning much more serious. He's not done talking. He warns Zhun that he doesn't really have a choice in this world. A talent like his is a trump card that no one will let run free. It's either pick a side or get eliminated. Zhun just smirks, wondering if he really is as cornered as Ji Xiaoyu thinks. He's not the type to just follow orders. He thinks to himself that once he's strong enough, he'll be the one forcing everyone else to pick a side. He's playing his own game. Zhun's next stop is the Lifestyle Class Service Center. Now that he's hit level 16, he's finally eligible to pick up a secondary profession. He knows he needs to choose carefully. A lifestyle class can provide huge benefits, but he needs one that fits his solo playstyle. He looks at the different options, weighing the pros and cons of each. He needs something that will give him an edge in the higher level dungeons. One option is being an alchemist, brewing potions to restore health and mana or providing various special combat effects. It's a solid choice, but is it the best one? The service center displays information on various lifestyle classes. Blacksmiths are essential for forging new weapons and upgrading current gear to make it more effective in combat. Enchanters, on the other hand, specialize in reinforcing equipment with magical energy, providing significant stat boosts across all attributes. Then there are chefs, who can cook special meals that provide temporary buffs, like increasing the rate at which a class holder gains experience. Zhun looks at the options and immediately crosses off alchemists and chefs. As a solo player, he doesn't think their long-term buffs are worth the investment right now. He also dismisses being a blacksmith. Since he just looted top-tier gear from the Nether Trial, he doesn't need to forge anything new in the immediate future. He smiles, realizing there's really only one logical choice that will give him the biggest power spike right now. He walks up to the registration counter and tells the clerk he wants to register for the Enchanter subclass. It's the perfect complement to his high-tier gear. The clerk starts explaining the risks, mentioning that enchantment success rates are tied to skill level and that leveling up can be extremely costly. Zhun cuts her off, telling her he's well aware of how it works. He just wants her to process the registration as quickly as possible. The clerk tells him to stand in the center of the room. A bright blue magic circle flares up beneath his feet as the system begins the class transfer. A system message pops up, congratulating him on becoming a level 1 enchanter. He can feel the new potential for power coursing through him. Another staff member, a woman with long blonde hair, approaches him. She asks if he'd like to rent one of their specialized enchanting rooms to test out his new skills. She explains that their premium rooms have a localized zone effect that boosts enchantment success rates by a massive 40%. For a beginner, that's huge. She adds that the enhancement array in the room also protects equipment from being destroyed if the enchantment fails. It's the ultimate safety net for high-value gear. The rental fee is 10,000 per hour, which is steep for most people. But Zhun just hands over the black card he got from Ji Xiaoyu and books the room for 2 hours. Once inside, Zhun takes out the Nether Trinity set he carefully selected after his successful run of the Nether Trial. These are his most prized possessions. He calculates that if he can get all of them to at least +10, they'll be strong enough to last him for a very long time. He's ready to dump all his resources into this. He puts his hands together and activates his new skill. Purple flames erupt from the enchanting pedestal as the process begins. Enhance. The room is filled with flashing system messages as one enhancement after another succeeds. Zhun is on an incredible lucky streak. First, his weapon, the Nether Garrote, hits +10. Its physical attack power nearly doubles, and it gains devastating new effects like ignoring physical defense. Then his armor, Nether Vigil, also reaches +10. It now provides a massive shield upon entering combat and a full health recovery if he drops below 10% HP. Finally, his accessory, Nether's Abyss, hits an unbelievable +14. The stat bonuses to his physical and magic defense are through the roof. Zhun can hardly believe his luck. He's hit the absolute jackpot. Between the premium room's boost and his own luck, he's achieved the impossible. He smirks, feeling the sheer weight of his new power. With this gear, he's going to be an absolute nightmare for anyone to deal with in the next dungeon. Later that evening, Zhun heads over to Shunbei High. It's time to pick up his little sister, Zhu, and start their new life. He waves her over from the school gates, leaning against a yellow taxi. He's got a big surprise waiting for her. Zhu is genuinely surprised to see him. She asks if he really came all the way there just to pick her up from school. Zhun just tells her to get in the car. He says they have a lot to talk about, and he's not doing it on the street. Before getting into the car, Zhu started panicking. She asked if her brother had offended some dangerous enemies and if they were currently fleeing the city to save their lives. Zhun just sighs and gives her a light chop on the head, telling her to stop talking nonsense. He's not a criminal, and they aren't running away. He tells her she'll understand everything once they reach their destination. He can't wait to see the look on her face. Zhu's eyes widen as the taxi pulls up to a massive, beautiful estate. She's completely stunned by what she's seeing. She hops out of the car, looking up at the sprawling white mansion in disbelief. She can't believe a house this huge actually exists in their city. Zhun walks up behind her and hands her a set of keys. He simply tells her that this is their new home. Zhu is absolutely ecstatic. She runs toward the front door, shouting about how incredible the house is. Zhun watches her with a soft smile, finally feeling like he's providing for her properly. Inside, Zhu is amazed by how high-tech everything is. Zhun makes a silent promise to himself that he'll keep getting stronger to keep this life for them. His expression turns determined. He won't stop until he's powerful enough that no one in this world dares to threaten them ever again. The sun rises over their new home early the next morning. It's a brand new start for both of them, far away from the slums they used to live in. Zhu is already dressed for school, heading out the door. She waves goodbye to her brother, her mood clearly better than it's been in years. Zhun, still in his apron from making breakfast, tells her to stay safe on the way. It's a peaceful, domestic scene he never thought he'd experience. Once he's alone, Zhun hangs up his apron and gets back to business. Now that his sister is safe at school, he can focus on his next goal. He sits down at his desk and starts reviewing his gear and stats. It's time to start preparing for today's dungeon challenge and push his limits even further. The dungeon guides posted on the forums are essential for any class holder, offering valuable insights from various guilds. Each guide is verified by the Sanctuary of Divine Revelation, ensuring that the information provided is both accurate and reliable for those brave enough to enter. Zhun scans the options and settles on City of Blood, located on the second floor, number 17. It seems like the perfect challenge for his current level. He decides that a dungeon he can exit quickly if needed is his best bet. He doesn't want to take any unnecessary risks that might worry Zhu. Standing in the elevator, Zhun's mind remains focused on his sister. He's determined to make this new life work, but that means he has to be smart about his dungeon runs. A staff member greets him as he arrives on the second floor, pointing him in the right direction for the various dungeon entrances. Zhun walks down the long, ornate hallway, passing by several other class holders as he looks for his specific destination. The hallway is lined with glowing blue portals, each leading to a different dungeon with its own unique challenges and rewards. He finally spots the entrance labeled number 17, marked by a sign with a red dragon emblem. He's exactly where he needs to be. The portal to the City of Blood looms before him, its swirling blue energy beckoning him inside. But before he can step through, he's stopped by two men in suits. The men approach him with smug expressions, asking if he's looking to enter the dungeon and if he signed a contract with their guild yet. Zhun is confused by their demand. He's never heard of having to sign a contract with a guild just to enter a public dungeon. One of the men points to his armband, proudly stating that the Red Dragon Guild has the highest clear progress here, which gives them jurisdiction over the area. He shoves a piece of paper into Zhun's chest, telling him that if he wants to go inside, he has to sign the contract right now. Zhun reads over the terms, and his anger begins to flare. The contract demands that he surrender 90% of all dungeon yields to the guild. It also states that he can only keep items he finds if he pays the guild their full market value in cash. He can't believe the level of extortion they're attempting. Without a second thought, Zhun rips the contract in half right in front of them. He's not going to be bullied by some mid-tier guild. He stares them down, telling them flat out that he will absolutely never sign such a ridiculous piece of paper. He's not here to be their errand boy. The men are livid, calling him a noob and telling him to go cry to the sanctuary if he has a problem with how they run things. They're convinced they have the upper hand. Suddenly, a calm but authoritative voice interrupts them. Zhou Mingyang, the vice master of the Red Dragon Guild, walks up to see what all the noise is about. The guild members quickly explain that Zhun is refusing to sign the contract and wants to attempt the dungeon solo, something they find laughable. Zhou Mingyang looks Zhun up and down with a condescending smile, asking if he really thinks he's as talented as the legendary player, Honorable, who just debuted. Zhou Mingyang continues to belittle him, telling him that compared to a real talent like Honorable, Zhun is absolutely nothing. He's surrounded by his guild members, feeling untouchable. Zhun keeps his cool, though a bead of sweat rolls down his face. He knows he can't let anyone realize that he actually is honorable, or the fallout would be catastrophic for him and his sister. Zhun decides it's time to lean into that edgelord persona he's been crafting. He introduces himself as the Molten Warrior, bragging about soloing a demonic rhino to look like a pro who doesn't need teammates. Zhou Mingyang just scoffs, calling him nothing but a high-attack assassin who thinks dungeons are child's play. The vice master gets in his face, threatening that if he doesn't sign their contract now, he'll never step foot in this dungeon again. Zhun isn't backing down, pointing out that their guild doesn't actually own the place. Zhou adjusts his glasses, smugly explaining that the sanctuary's rules give priority to the guild with the highest clear progress. Since they hold the record, they've basically crowned themselves the dungeon's administrators. Zhun points a finger right back, telling them not to get cocky because he's going to register his own guild and blow past their record. Zhou laughs it off, warning him that failing a guild challenge comes with a $10 million penalty. He's more than happy to watch this kid throw his money away. Zhun leaves him with a final warning to just wait and see. As he walks away, he realizes that since guilds get so many perks, he might as well just run things under a formal name. He figures registering one is the best move to keep operating on his own terms. Back at the gate, Zhou grumbles about being tired of these self-proclaimed heroes who think they can ignore the rules. He gives his guys a thumbs up, telling them to just kick the kid out if he shows up again. He turns his focus back to the team, declaring they're heading in to finally get that perfect clear. Suddenly, a massive holographic notice flashes in the air, catching everyone off guard. Zhou looks up in pure shock as the system makes a major announcement. The notice reveals that a guild called Godkiller has officially initiated a challenge for the dungeon's rights. The vice master is stunned that the kid actually went through with it. He starts sweating, wondering where a random solo player could have possibly gotten that kind of cash. Cut to Zhun sliding a premium black card across a counter to finalize the deal. He grabs his new credentials, ready to show these parasites exactly how a real player clears a dungeon. Zhou is still fuming at the gate, yelling that the price for losing this challenge is more than a brat like him can handle. Zhun just gives them a confident smirk as he passes by, claiming the City of Blood for himself. He tells the Red Dragon members they might as well start packing their bags now. He steps into the portal, leaving a frustrated Zhou behind. The vice master is beyond livid, demanding his men find out everything they can about this guy so he can crush him. Zhun materializes inside the dungeon, greeted by the usual dark, stone-paved streets. A system alert pops up immediately, warning him that the blood-red mist has already bumped up his infection level. He scans the dungeon rules, noting that so far, everything is lining up with what the guide said. Still, he's keeping his guard up for any unexpected variables the books might have missed. He spots a small wooden sign nearby that's definitely not in any of the official records. He realizes this could be the hidden clue he needs for a perfect clear. His train of thought is interrupted when a groaning zombie wanders into view. Zhun decides the mysteries can wait. He needs to turn every monster here into experience points first. A whole swarm of the undead starts closing in from the alleys. He watches them calmly, prepared for the incoming wave. Recalling that these things are hypersensitive to sound, he activates his vigilance skill to prepare for the fight. He leaps into action, his blade slicing through the air as he takes down the first target. Passive skills like Blood Siphon and Pure Land kick in, converting damage into healing and shields. He checks the stats of a level 15 blood corpse and decides that with his current gear, dodging these trash mobs is just a waste of time. His Abyssal Embrace skill is basically a cheat code. If the hit is weaker than his defense, he just heals for the same amount. With his defense stats sitting over 2600 after those upgrades, these zombies aren't enemies anymore, they're just walking health packs. If he didn't need to follow the dungeon story beats to trigger the next phase, he just herd them all up and nuked the whole lot at once. But for now, he's stuck clearing them out street by street, one slash at a time. Every time one of these things drops, it leaves behind a glowing crystal in the blood red mist. These blood mist crystals are in high demand for making potions, so gathering them up is basically like picking up free cash. He comes to a stop in front of a small building that looks surprisingly untouched by the chaos. A bell rings as he steps inside, revealing a cozy-looking shop tucked away in the middle of this nightmare. An old woman greets him with a warm smile, offering him a bowl of sweet, well water from her backyard. It looks refreshing enough, but in a place like this, nothing is ever that simple. According to the guides, this bowl of water is the only way to lower your infection level in the entire dungeon. But the more Zhun looks at it, the more he feels like he's walking into a trap. The granny keeps pushing it, telling him it's wonderful and he should give it a try. He starts running the logic. How could a supposedly helpless old lady survive in a city filled with toxic mist and flesh-eating zombies, relying on a simple bowl of water that only drops infection by 20 points? There's no way that's the whole story. He flashes a friendly smile and asks her why she's even still living here. She sighs and pulls out a small purple garment, saying she just wants to finish a sweater for a poor child. Zhun catches the mention of a child, a detail that definitely wasn't in any of the official records. She starts rambling about how smart and kind the boy was, and how unfair it was that they had to kill him. Realizing she's just going in circles now, he turns to leave, knowing he won't get any more useful info out of her. He's pretty sure this water is why the Red Dragon Guild never hit a perfect clear despite doing everything else right. The granny sounds desperate as he heads for the door, begging him to have a drink for his own safety. He ignores her completely, stepping back out into the mist without taking a single sip. Looking around, he sees his original path is clear, but a mountain of boulders has completely walled off the path to the left. The only way forward is to the right, exactly like the guides described. This whole place was designed to be a straight shot. A system alert pings, showing his infection level is steadily climbing and starting to tank his attack power. He finally reaches the Terror Chamber of Commerce, wondering if his rising infection level is actually the key to that perfect clear. He pushes the heavy double doors open, stepping into the grand entrance of the building. He's immediately ambushed by a level 20 guard blood corpse, a hulking skeleton in heavy plate armor. To play it safe, he triggers his defensive buffs, instantly gaining a massive health boost and a glowing blue shield. He doesn't hold back, shouting his name and challenging every monster in the building to come and get him. The guard lets out a bone-chilling roar, ready to tear into the arrogant intruder. More of the armored guards start surrounding him, weapons drawn and eyes glowing with malice. Zhun lets out a few dry coughs, thinking his bait talent is way too hard on his throat. He really needs a megaphone for this. He dances around their heavy strikes, landing a clean hit on one of the skeletons. Suddenly, a strange voice echoes through the hall, calling some man a lunatic for murdering his own wife with a hammer. The voices continue, lamenting that they shouldn't have been so quick to judge him. They claim they were the ones who made the real mistake as Zhun stands over the remains of his first kill. He picks up a small golden locket from the ground, wondering what the hell those random voices were even talking about. There's no time to dwell on it though, as more skeletons close in. It's time for the next round. A few minutes pass as the sounds of battle fade, and the ornate back door of the building slowly creaks open. Zhun steps out, surrounded by glowing green and blue mana, ready to find out what's waiting for him in the next area. Looking out over the blood-soaked landscape, Zhun knows the end is in sight. It's finally time to take down the dungeon boss. He's come a long way since registering his new guild, Godkiller, and throwing down the gauntlet for this specific challenge. Every step he takes is focused on one goal, achieving a perfect clear and claiming the absolute victory. He can practically see Zhou Mingyang's arrogant face, and he's more determined than ever to rip the administration rights right out of that bastard's hands. Just the thought of seeing that smug look turn into absolute despair is enough to keep a persistent grin on Zhun's face. He's already checked off the Chaotic District and the Terror Chamber of Commerce from his list, making steady progress through the guide's locations. He glances at the golden crest in his hand, the key item he looted from the guard captain blood corpse to unlock the exit. His refusal to drink the old woman's bowl of water, a decision he firmly stuck to, caused his infection stacks to skyrocket to a dangerous level. But for a build like his, a slight drop in attack power is a small price to pay for maintaining his integrity in this twisted game. With the final area dead ahead, he squares his shoulders and prepares to finish what he started. A blue system window flickers into existence as he steps into the gloomy expanse of Gallows Plaza. He scans the blood corpses wandering the area, noting they aren't any stronger than the mobs he's already pulverized. He pulls up the stats for the condemned Blood Corpse King, noting its massive 80,000 health points and powerful AoE skills. Even with the bosses, Inspire, buff kicking in, he knows his astronomical defense stats mean these monsters can't even leave a scratch on him. He takes a confident step forward, his boots crunching on the dry, cursed earth. The undead residents of the plaza snap their heads toward him, their red eyes glowing with sudden fury. Exactly as the guide predicted, the moment he enters their territory, the entire horde goes into a mindless, berserk frenzy. Surrounded by reaching claws, Zhun just smirks as his passive skills start ticking, healing him and generating shields for every hit he takes. "My name is Zhun," he shouts, unleashing a massive arc of purple energy that cleaves through the front line of the swarm. He knows these trash mobs are no threat, but he still has to kill 5 minutes of time before the big boss actually wakes up. He decides to make the most of the wait, treating the endless wave of zombies like a high-speed experience farm. A few minutes later, the plaza is silent again, and Zhun takes a breather on the edge of the gallows platform. He looks around at the piles of defeated monsters, puzzled by the fact that their bodies haven't dissolved like usual. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts, and the air begins to vibrate with a heavy, oppressive red energy. The lone corpse hanging from the central gallows begins to twitch and groan, its body saturated by a dark, crimson glow. A terrifying voice rasps through the air, declaring that all life shall eventually fall to the dungeon's power. The corpse begins to swell and mutate, its muscles bulging as it claims the plaza for its own. With a sharp crack, the thick hanging rope snaps, releasing the transformed horror onto the battlefield. The condemned Blood Corpse King slams into the ground with enough force to shatter the stone tiles and send a shockwave through the plaza. As the dust settles, red-tinged spirits begin to claw their way out of the earth, encircling Zhun in a ghastly perimeter. The king bellows another threat, his voice dripping with ancient malice as he begins to gather his strength. A massive, fleshy red hammer manifests in his grip, declaring that all who oppose him will be devoured by the dungeon's curse. Zhun lets out a sharp laugh, finally seeing the weapon he'd been expecting from the boss's skilled descriptions. "So it was here all along," he exclaims, watching as the towering grey beast looms over him, hammer at the ready. The king's red eyes lock onto his, and he delivers a final ultimatum: "You shall die." "Beneath my hammer," he screams, charging forward and bringing the weapon down in a crushing overhead swing. Zhun doesn't flinch, feeling the surge of his honorable talent activating as he prepares to meet the attack head-on. "Die," the king screams, but Zhun is already moving, his blade glowing with a deadly intent. He triggers his shadow strike, his blade becoming a blur as he strikes with pinpoint accuracy. The massive red hammer is halted mid-swing, caught by the sheer force of Zhun's defensive power and counterattack. The condemned Blood Corpse King freezes, a look of pure, unadulterated shock crossing his grey, mutated features. In a flash of crimson and steel, Zhun stands behind his foe, having delivered a strike that seals the boss's fate. A system window appears, congratulating Zhun for defeating the condemned Blood Corpse King, LV25. He has leveled up to 18. Zhun smiles, realizing that he actually leveled up twice. This dungeon run is turning out to be quite profitable. He checks the stats for a Blood Red Nightmare Helm, a level 20 item with impressive physical attack and health bonuses. It even has a skill that deals damage based on a target's lost HP. The loot is excellent, and Zhun is confident it will sell for a high price. He is quite pleased with the results of this battle. Among the drops is a Grade Retention Charm, a valuable item that prevents equipment from losing enhancement levels during upgrades. This is something Zhun plans to keep for himself. He estimates that this single dungeon run will earn him at least 10 million credits. This is a massive haul for a solo player. Having wiped out every monster in record time, Zhun is certain he will achieve a perfect clear. He holds the guard captain's badge, ready to finish this challenge. A system message asks if he wishes to use the badge to leave the City of Blood. Zhun pauses, something feels off. He recalls that in previous trials, the exit portal would open immediately after the rewards were claimed. But this time, it's different. The fact that the game hasn't teleported him out yet makes him wonder if there's more to this dungeon than just killing the boss. He starts to question the mechanics of the dungeon. If everything is the same as the guides say, then why hasn't it truly ended yet? He remembers that the only hammer user in the dungeon was the boss here in the plaza. He suspects this boss is the one the guard captain spoke about. He looks down at the fallen boss, pondering the story of a man who supposedly murdered his wife. Something about the condemned label feels significant. He starts to search the body of the Blood Corpse King, looking for any additional clues that might explain the mystery. His hand brushes against something metallic. He pulls it out, his eyes narrowing as he inspects the object. Found it, he mutters. It's a golden pocket watch, and inside is a family photo. But the face of the child in the center has been scratched out, as if by a vengeful hand. The realization hits him like a bolt of lightning. What if the person condemned wasn't this man, but the child in the photograph? Zhun looks up, his gaze fixed on a distant part of the city. He knows now that the true key to a perfect clear lies in that little shop he saw earlier.